Thank you so much, Jennifer. What a quite incredible gathering here in New York. An incredible gathering. And it's been a great source of pride for me and my wife Melissa to be able to be associated with the AAA. It's a great source of pride for me to be invited by Andrew to say a few nice words about him tonight. Andrew is an engineer. Engineers are usually pretty boring people. You don't usually invite them to dinner parties. They tend to be a little bit reclusive, intellectual. They tend to also think that they're smarter than God. After all, they built so much. The streets we walk on, the electricity we use, the water that comes through the pipes, technology that we take for granted every day comes from engineers. In that sense, Andrew Liveris is not an engineer. He's someone that you want to be associated with. He's a high achiever, in this case, in a room full of high achievers. You know, Andrew's family arrived as Greek migrants in Darwin in 1914. Think of what the city looked like then. It's barely a city now. I can hear Malcolm Turnbull on the phone recalling me as we speak. I think it is a marginal seat. But his family went through World War II, and we tend to forget that Darwin had more Japanese bombs fall on it during World War II than Pearl Harbor. And yet his family survived that. He was born in 1954, May of 1954. And it's funny how events turn. It was Cyclone Tracy, Christmas Day 1974, and so many of us will remember that event, that broke his family. Not war, not bombs, not the challenges of the Northern Territory, but Cyclone Tracy brought down the family business and they had to move to Queensland. It was fortuitous because Andrew ended up at the University of Queensland, studied chemical engineering, and his great goal was to be the Australian Chief Executive of Dow Chemicals, because he joined Dow Chemicals after finishing university. Little did he know that his career path would be an incredible trajectory. Today he is Executive Chairman of the Dow DuPont empire, $174 billion, 60,000 employees in over 120 countries. You know, when you come from that sort of experience, and in that sense I share that experience with Andrew, about being the son of migrants, about facing adversity, it prepares you for the challenges that they don't teach you at university. How to cope with the criticism, how to deal with other people. And it was in Darwin that Andrew learned that it didn't matter what the colour of the skin was of the kid that grew up with you, what their faith was, what their beliefs were. He is a tolerant and compassionate man. And in many ways, that's a result of his upbringing, but it's the fact that he didn't change. You see, engineers actually spend their whole lives trying to change things, to improve things. And at Dow Chemical, Andrew, by focusing on a range of different things, such as a particular type of chemical supporting plastics, focusing on R&D, increasing the amount of expenditure by the company on R&D, and by spinning off parts of the Dow empire that were no longer relevant to its future and merging with DuPont, he's been able to adapt to change. And he's been able to foresee change. And it was Andrew who came to me and said a few years ago when I was Treasurer that Australia is facing an energy crisis, and he was right, and it's now playing out. And he could foresee the massive changes in manufacturing that have been coming down the pipeline. That's what a leader does. They can foresee the change and adapt to the change. But you know, there are some things about Andrew Liveris that have not changed. His love of family. And Paula and the 3 children, I'm particularly pleased to see Anthony, who is here, and his daughter-in-law Jemima. Give us a wave. They've surrounded themselves with all the beautiful people here on the first table, and rightly so. And he loves his family, and that hasn't changed. And Andrew loves his country, and that hasn't changed. And Andrew loves being busy. He is indefatigable, he is courageous, he is prepared to have a go. And in the great words of Teddy Roosevelt, which I think embody everything that Andrew Liveris says and does. And these words are enduring today as they were way back at the beginning of the 20th century, just as his grandparents were arriving in Darwin. Teddy Roosevelt said, "It's far better to dream mighty things, to seek glorious triumphs even though checkered by failure, than to be amongst those poor souls who neither suffer much nor win much, because they live in the grey twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat." So to you, Andrew Liveris, thanks for having a go. Thanks for embodying the very best of Australian and American values. It's my great pleasure to introduce the Honorary Lifetime Achievement Award, Andrew Liveris. Please welcome Andrew Liveris.